Hey YouTube, today we're going to be talking about the Oknife Gaur. This comes from the same company that makes great flashlights, the Olights, and this is one of their knives, and it's a really cool knife. I think you'll enjoy this video. All right, let's get into it. Okay, we'll talk about the specs first, and these are my measurements. The length of the blade, I'm getting 3 7/8 inches. The handle length, I got 5 inches. Overall length is 8 7/8 inches. The weight of the knife on my digital scale, I was getting 7.1 ounces. The pivot screw is a T8 and the rest of the hardware is our T6. The handle is made of micarta. And online they're calling it a paper micarta. I really don't know what that is, but it's a smooth micarta, but it's not smooth to where it's slippery. It's kind of tacky. So I don't know how to explain it, but it's not a slippery smooth. You still have pretty good grip on it. There's ball bearings in the pivot. The liners inside the knife, let me see if you can get a shot of that. You can see those circles. The liners are milled out for weight relief. The blade thickness, I was getting 0.13 inches or 3.3 millimeters. And the blade itself is D2. And you can see that stamp if I get a little closer. D2 right there. Okay, let's look at the knife a little closer. Let's take a look at these handles. It's smooth and shiny. You can see how everything is very contoured, very stylish. It's a really beautiful knife. I have to say, my first impressions when I first put this knife in my hand is it felt like a quality knife. It felt like a more expensive knife than what it is. The operation is very smooth. There's bearings in the pivot. There's some dimpling, or like little divots here, and then it carries over onto the blade. So that's a pretty cool little touch. The blade itself is like you can see that it's like a stonewash finish, and it's really beautiful. I like stonewash finishes on my knives. So on this side of the blade, you're just going to have a very small lettering for D2, and then you have the Oknife emblem right there. The top of the knife is flat, and then from here down, it's flat ground. And so this knife is very slicey, even for being such a large knife. It has a point. This point can pierce. I would call this a cleaver design. On the other side of the blade, you still have the same little divots or dimpling. Up here, you have the name of the knife, which is Oknife Gaur. And then right here, you have the model number. Okay, it has a pretty simple pocket clip. As you can see, it's not deep carry, but very little of the knife will be showing. You have an open back design for this knife. You have 2 little pillars back here in the back. Everything on this knife feels finished. It feels really well done. It feels like a quality knife. You don't really see any gaps anywhere. I'll show you the centering is spot on. I mean, that centering is perfect. Everything about this knife is really high quality. The operation is very smooth. One of the things that made me buy this knife is this forward finger choil, and there's plenty of room for your finger. Can get up and make very controlled cuts. The handle itself feels very comfortable. It's kind of interesting. You see how it kind of tapers down towards the end of the handle, but it feels really good. And there's plenty of room. I have pretty large hands, and there's plenty of room for my fingers. And if I squeeze really hard, I guess because the pocket clip is kind of small, I don't really feel it. It's not uncomfortable at all. And this is a very small pocket clip, but it works. I've already carried this knife a couple of times and carried it for a whole week at work, and it's a great little knife. The liner is chamfered right here. That's just for comfort when you put your finger on there to push it over. Everything feels smooth. There's no sharp edges anywhere. There's no jimping on top of the blade, but there's a little bit of jimping back here at the flipper. The pivot screw on this knife is kind of like an anodized blue color, and it really looks nice. It's a nice contrast with this kind of light cream colored micarta handle. And this handle is really beautiful. Try to get a close up and you can see how contoured this is with the cutouts, the divots, even around the pivot screw. It's kind of contoured around there. It's a really beautiful handle. And so this, the blade steel is made of D2, and D2 is a very good high carbon stainless steel. It's just as good as any super steel out there, especially if it's heat treated properly. The only thing about D2 is it may rust a little more than some of the other high carbon stainless steels. Another thing I'd like to mention is that when you buy the knife, it does come with a nice little pouch, and I believe it came with a cleaning cloth too, and you get your regular paperwork with it and stuff, but I pretty much threw everything away. But I did keep the pouch because it's very nice for storing your knife. So this knife is probably not for everybody. It's a very large, overbuilt knife, but if you like larger knives like I do, and you've been thinking about getting this knife, I would say get it because you're going to be pleasantly surprised. It's a really high quality knife for the money. And if you have larger hands like I do, you'll really appreciate the size, and it's very comfortable. All right, this is the Oknife Gaur. I hope you enjoyed the video today. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And I should get back to making videos on a weekly basis. I've just been really busy right now doing my taxes, but I finally got all that put behind me. Should have some really interesting videos coming in the future. I'll see you guys next time.